When a man becomes a father, he's called upon to make sacrifices for his family. And often these will be small sacrifices. Sometimes they'll be larger, though, more significant. And on even rarer occasion, the duties of fatherhood will require him to make the kind of sacrifice that, up to that moment, he would have thought himself incapable of making. These are the moments when a man must become a hero, when he must lay his very life on the line.
Now, with all that said, you might think he might be talking about something serious. This man's talking like he's about to have to give up his kidney for his child or something, right? This grown-ass man is talking about a goddamn Sonic movie like this.
You needed a father.
Nah, but today we're going to be responding to this video from Matt Walsh. He made a critique video on Sonic 3. Some of you guys may have already seen SK do this, and I wanted to do this before SK did. SK was actually, he sent it in this group chat that we're in. He's like, yo, I gotta respond to this. And I'm like, bro, I was already gonna do that. And he's like, nah, fuck you. And I was like, you know, fuck you too. But yeah, that brings us to where we are today. So without further ado, let's continue with the video.
Or most harrowing of all, he may be compelled by his paternal obligations to go to a movie theater and watch Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Man, you know what's funny? When I was at the theater watching this movie, I saw a kid and his dad, and they were both dressed in Sonic costumes. And I was looking at it, I was like, damn. That's adorable. You know, that's a dad right there that likes to put in effort. Is it a little silly? Yeah. But I compare that and I imagine Matt Walsh's kid just sitting in the theater, excited as hell to watch this movie, having a grand old time probably watching it, and then Matt Walsh just sitting in the theater looking like Homelander while the inside of his brain looks like this. Sitting there like old man Jenkins in the theater.
Look, Mom, I drew a picture of me landing on the moon.
And even as someone who didn't have a dad growing up, I'm gonna play this clip again.
You needed a father.
This man sounds like he's deprived of all happiness. I just want to preface, it's fine if he didn't like the movie, but it's the stuff that he says in this video that's really it's just funny to me.
Now, a man in that situation would, of course, much prefer to be engulfed in flames or hit by a speeding train, but that would be the coward's way out. Now, for the record, I'll say I greatly enjoyed most of the time that I spent with my wife and kids these past 2 weeks. We had a lot of fun together. We played football. We played outside. We shot BB guns. We played card games and board games. I completely wrecked my whole family in Monopoly 2 nights in a row. Wasn't even close. We took the kids ice skating. I was ice skating. My wife and kids were left dumbstruck by my gracefulness and elegance on the ice. They didn't say that, but I know they were thinking it. These were all wonderful experiences, yet things took a rather distressing turn on the final Thursday of the break when my 8-year-old son and 5-year-old daughter asked me to take them to go see Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
What the fuck? You know, for some reason, I find it hard to believe that this man has quality family time. If Sonic 3 was the movie that really broke him as a father and a man. Now listen, as someone who has been broken by a piece of media, multiple pieces of media in my life, you know, it's somewhat relatable in a sense. But bro, you're sitting there in the theater watching the movie with your family. It's not that deep.
Before I offer my brief review of this thing that I hesitate to call a film, I must first acknowledge, in all fairness, I never saw Sonic the Hedgehog 1 or Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
So we're making a review of a movie without watching the first two. We're off to a great start.
It's possible that one cannot fully appreciate the narrative complexities of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 without having seen the first 2 chapters in this epic Hedgehog saga.
Yes.
Maybe the other 2 movies are works of staggering artistic genius that would elevate the 3rd installment and lend it the sort of context necessary for me to have appreciated it and enjoyed it instead of feeling like I was being waterboarded with high fructose corn syrup the whole time. But I doubt it.
Nah, bro. Sonic 1 and 2, those are both masterpieces, complete works of art, 0 issues in the writing, truly staggering films. You know, there's actually a quote from Martin Scorsese directly that he watched Sonic 1 and 2, and he was like, man, this puts every movie I've ever made to shame.
I mean, this is the kind of movie where Jim Carrey plays 2 characters. One is the evil villain, and the other is the evil villain's evil grandfather in old age makeup. And the 2 break into an impromptu dance routine that makes no narrative sense but lasts approximately 87 minutes. It's the kind of movie where those same characters before the dance routine actually look directly into the camera and explain that they're being played by the same actor.
Explain why it doesn't make any narrative sense. Also, fuck you, this is peak cinema.
That sounds like a challenge.
How does one see that and not just give you have to at least smile at that. Like, come on, bro.
I must assume, and I think assume safely, that there is nothing in the other two films that would make this one any less obnoxious or horrifically stupid. I'm not going to bother explaining the plot of this film in any detail. I wasn't tracking it that closely, to be honest. I was mostly fighting to stay awake.
So he both didn't watch the first two movies, and he wasn't paying attention to this movie. And he decided, I'm going to come on to YouTube, and I'm going to make a review.
That makes sense to me.
This is the kind of movie that bores you to the point of putting you to sleep, but also annoys you at the same time. It's kind of an odd combination to be both sleepy and deeply irritated simultaneously.
We? Who's we? There is no we.
As for the plot, I can only tell you that Sonic is the good hedgehog, which you may know. There's also an evil hedgehog voiced by Keanu Reeves, who, and I like Keanu Reeves, by the way, but like every other voice actor in this film and most voice actors in most children's films that have been made for the past 20 years, he has no talent as a voice actor and doesn't understand how to act with just your voice.
How exactly? Also, I don't know what animated movies you've been watching, but just no. No.
I'm not asking you twice, Knuckles. Where is the Master Emerald?
Your heart is being consumed by anger, Hedgehog. You are in no condition to make decisions right now.
Last chance. Where is it?
Don't do this. Part of our oath is to trust each other. And I must abide by that promise, even if you have chosen to break it.
You don't get to choose who Riley is. Anxiety? You need to let her go.
Well, that's the whole thing. You're never thinking about anything else, just yourself. Fantastic. Another Orion Pack's master plan. I can't wait to hear this.
Wait, don't you want to stop him?
No, I want to kill him. I want to put Sentinel in chains and march him through the mines so everyone can see him for the false prime that he is. I want him to suffer and then to die in darkness.
So Sonic has to stop the evil hedgehog and his evil cohorts, that's the Jim Carrey dancing duo I mentioned earlier, from blowing up the world with a big laser. And, you know, this has been the evil plan of every evil villain in every blockbuster franchise film for the past 3 decades. It's a formula that this movie is not interested in deviating from. This is not the sort of movie that deviates from formulas.
So a villain who wants to blow up the world because the world's humanity killed someone, his daughter, who's like the paragon of innocence, or got her killed because of something they didn't understand. It's a bad and uninteresting villain motivation for him to want to blow up humanity because he has no faith in it and lost all faith pretty much once that innocent daughter of his died. Okay. And villains wanting to destroy the world, it doesn't really matter if it's come before. What matters is if it has depth and, you know, if the motivation is interesting and three-dimensional.
If you're wondering why the evil hedgehog and the 2 Jim Carreys want to explode the world and murder 8 billion people in a cosmic blast that they will also die in, it's because the older Jim Carrey's granddaughter, I think, was killed, and now he wants to commit murder-suicide because life isn't worth living. Like, that's real. That's in the movie.
First of all, Jim Carrey that wrote Dr. Robotnik, the Eggman, not his grandfather. He doesn't want to destroy the world. It's only Shadow and Gerald. Second of all, you're not exactly explaining a problem. You're just explaining a motivation. Explain why it's a stupid motivation. Explain why it's uninteresting. Explain why it breaks his character. Explain what doesn't work about it. Explain anything as to why the writing is actually bad.
He actually declares his suicidal intention as well. Now, if that seems like weirdly bleak and dark for a kid's movie where the characters bust out impromptu dance routines and randomly break the fourth wall and constantly speak in internet lingo from 2019, there's a lot of that, by the way. Just as one example, at one point, Jim Carrey says, "Damn you, autocorrect." If it seems weirdly bleak and dark for that kind of movie, it's because it is. This is a movie, like so many kids' movies these days, that schizophrenically darts back and forth from being ironic to painfully self-serious to goofy to earnest and so on and so on. It doesn't try to smooth over these tonal transitions with good writing or performances. The writing is just terrible, and the performances are atrocious across the board. Instead, it just flings it all against the wall haphazardly.
Now, this is one of the only things I kind of agree with. It's actually really one of my only big issues with the movie. Sonic 3 tries to be more emotional than the first two movies and serious, but it also keeps the tone of the first two movies in places where it shouldn't be. Like, for example, after Donut Lord dies, or is presumed dead by Sonic, there's a very emotional scene that plays, and it then cuts to a goofy joke that Officer Wade is the one who has the emerald and he's playing hockey with it on top of a roof. That's complete tonal breakage. I don't know why they did that. But yes, I can agree that some of the tone is, it shifts. Hi, Cat. But yes, I can agree that some of the tone, it kind of shifts when it shouldn't. But that doesn't mean that the movie is even remotely bad or that all the writing sucks.
Because these are all bullet points that the movie studio knows it has to hit. Because this movie, again, like so many kids' movies these days, is not the fulfillment of anyone's creative vision. It is just the product of a corporate algorithm. It is loud and ugly and obnoxious and disjointed because nobody who made the film actually cared about making a good film. And they have absolutely no respect for their audience.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
I mean, this movie could have been made by AI. We are at a point. If they start making movies with AI, we would not know the difference because they've effectively been doing that for 20 years now.
The scam was that your mom didn't go gulp. That's what the fucking scam was. Because hot damn, you want to know what's a scam? Your fucking education.
You might respond here, as many people on Twitter did after I gave a very brief review of this film in a tweet on the site a few days ago. You might respond that, well, this movie isn't for me. It's for kids. Well, first of all, tell that to the other people in the theater with us. I can tell you that my kids were by far the youngest people in attendance. There were multiple groups of adults, just adults, no kids, whole groups of them who bought tickets to Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Also, tell it to the multiple grown adults who got angry at me on Twitter for not liking the movie. The funny thing is that a lot of those same people say, well, it's not for you, it's for kids. Why are you getting so upset about it then? Why are you tearfully defending a movie that you claim is not for you either?
If people say that the movie's for kids, which I would disagree with, I think anybody can watch it. It's probably more tailored for kids, but it's one of those kids things, quote unquote, that anybody can watch, like a Cartoon Network show. But your argument for why it's not for kids is because you saw adults defending the movie and watching it. Do I even need to explain how fucking stupid that is? What? Guys, Coco Melon is no longer for kids because I saw a grown adult watching it and defending it. Also, aren't you a grown adult saying that this movie broke you?
In fact, one person told me that my negative comments had upset, and I'm repeating this phrase verbatim, had upset the, quote, Sonic community. Now, those are not kids who identify themselves as members of the Sonic community. My 8-year-old loves Sonic, but he's not on Twitter furiously defending the Sonic community from its detractors. So I agree that these kinds of movies are for kids, but I am not the one who needs to be told that. Okay?
I think the saddest thing about that last part of his statement, that he said he doesn't need to be told that and that he agrees that these movies are for kids, is the fact that he still didn't even understand it. You couldn't understand a kid's movie, by your logic. Also, being part of a community, quote unquote, is basically just having an interest in something that, that's like a specific niche. For example, Matt Walsh, you are a right-wing YouTuber. You talk about a lot of right-wing politics. So if someone says something that upsets right-wing people and you may not be upset by it, you probably would, but irrelevant to the point, you would still be lumped in with those people because it's being hyperbolic in saying it upset the right-wing community, quote unquote. It doesn't mean it upset literally everybody. It just means that they upset, people that are part of that community, or your takes upset or, confuse people in that community. Matt Walsh is also a Christian, and he, the way he phrases it, it's like, oh, these people are upset that I criticize the movie, blah, 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 wham, wham. Matt Walsh, if someone criticized the Bible and was like, oh, that's a plot hole that doesn't make sense in the Bible to like try and disprove God or something, right? And what they said was wrong, would you or would you not want to respond to that, or you would get a little upset or confused by it? You would. Like, Matt Walsh does like open mic, like debate things, and like people have tried to bring up like, you know, Christian plot holes to him or whatever. And he does get noticeably upset when talking about the stuff. So it's like, I don't know what the confusion is. God is something that gives you happiness or like, you know, morality and, you know, purpose in life or something. And media, for example, Sonic, is something that also brings people enjoyment and stuff like that. Obviously, religion and, you know, consuming media are two different things, but it's the same general concept.
Second, and this is most important, and it shouldn't need to be explained, but really it does, and that's really my only point here. It is possible to make a children's movie that, although it's for children, is still a good, high-quality piece of art. I don't hate children's movies just because they're for children. Quite the opposite. As a father of 6, I've watched many, many children's movies. Okay, I've watched way more than the average person because I have so many kids. And I greatly appreciate the good ones. A few nights ago, just as an example, we watched the movie Iron Giant with my kids, and that's an animated children's film. It's also well-written, beautifully illustrated, brilliantly performed, tonally consistent. It's funny and heartwarming, and at points it's sad, but it works all of that in a way that feels natural to the story. It's a children's film, and it's also a great film, one that I can watch and also enjoy. Because as it turns out, children's movies are not just for children. They're for parents too.
Wait. So you just acknowledged that kids' movies can be watched by all audiences. Not only does that refute the point that you made earlier about, oh, if it's a kids' movie, then why are adults defending and watching it, blah, blah, blah. But also, the only criticism that you even put on Sonic 3, really, that made sense was the tonal consistency. That doesn't mean the whole thing is not well written.
Okay, if a kids' movie or kids' show is so grating and so dumb and so unpleasant that parents can't stand to be in the same room while it's on, that doesn't mean it's for kids. It isn't for kids. It isn't for anyone. It's just bad.
That's just not even true at all. Kids can watch stuff like Coco Melon or like Bubble Guppies. All right, you know what? Let me not disrespect Bubble Guppies. That show's peak. But like there are kids things that you can put on and a kid will enjoy it. And you know, if you're an adult, you might not enjoy it as much because you are an adult. That doesn't mean it's bad for kids. You've said one valid thing. That doesn't mean the whole shit is bad.
And the fact that people say, well, of course it's bad, it's for kids, tells you everything you need to know about our culture. They act like it's ridiculous to expect the content produced for kids to be high quality or to have any artistic merit whatsoever. But I tend to think exactly the opposite. I think content produced for kids should especially be high quality and should especially have artistic merit, which is why I hated Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and why it is today, I must say, sadly, canceled.
That was so fucking corny at the end there. I mean, listen, I agree. A lot of media any media, you should always be aspiring to make it as good as possible and not just, you know, booger-eating material. I don't think you should be defending something by saying, oh, it is for kids. I would more so say with something like Coco Melon, I guess. I would just be like, the kid enjoys it, whatever. Not for me. But if you're trying to defend a movie's writing, which I don't think most people would need to do with this video because you actually haven't really said anything that, you know, proves why the movie is, like, incoherent or anything, on a logical level, character level, plot level, etc. But there has been 3 kids movies alone that I've watched, or movies made with kids in mind, but you know, everybody can watch it. Transformers 1, Inside Out 2. I've heard The Wild Robot is great. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is great. This video is stupid. Matt's a bit of an idiot. Keep talking about politics, even though he can be a bit of an idiot on that front too. Yeah, this video kind of gave me an excuse to talk about Sonic 3. I wasn't gonna make a full review on it because I didn't really feel like it. But yeah, I thought the movie was great. We just had a disagreement day stream on it where people brought their criticisms up to us on it. You can go watch that if you want. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you become a channel member for as little as $1 a month to get most of my videos early. I thank you all for watching, and yeah.